to welcome back Donna LaScala. You may remember Donna joined the Divorce Hour back on our first episode on July 31st. If you don't know Donna, listen up, because Donna is a treasure chest of information. Donna is the president of the New York-based firm Comprehensive Divorce Solutions, where she and her team focus on a number of different things, such as divorce planning, mediation, and collaborative dispute resolution. Donna, welcome back to the show.
Ilyssa, thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be back.
Well, it's a pleasure having you back, and I want to jump right in. As a certified divorce financial analyst, there are several ways you can serve your clients. What are they?
So as a certified divorce financial analyst, I get involved in the middle of a divorce, at the beginning of a divorce, even at the end of a divorce, to talk about the numbers, the finances, the investments, the retirement accounts, the marital residence, all of the things that go into the subject of equitable distribution. So how can I help? It really depends on how the person is getting divorced. So there are three different ways. You can go through mediation, you can go through collaborative, or you can go through litigation. Now, if it's a mediation or a litigation, I act as what's called a financial advocate. And it's usually with one person, not both people of the couple that's getting divorced, because one person realizes that they need a little bit more hand-holding. And that's where I come in, to advise them on all things financial.
You mentioned you wear the hat of financial advocate. What exactly does that mean?
So a lot of times, and I hate to say that it's gender-based, but more often than not, we're still seeing that when a couple is getting divorced, one of them versus the other has been in charge of the family finances. A lot of times it's the woman who has not been in charge of the family finances. So she's being thrown a lot of information that she's never had to deal with before, because that was the area of her husband's expertise, or what he was, given as a chore. So she has no idea what investments they have, what retirement plan he has, what bank accounts they have, a variety of things. Sometimes she doesn't even know what the mortgage on the house is. So she's at sea, and she's being asked a lot of questions. So that's the kind of person, and it could be the husband, that's the kind of person that I would then be called in, probably by the mediator or the attorney, to help. Can you hold this person's hand? Can you help them do their statement of net worth? Can you help them create a budget? Can you advise them on how the things that they own are valued and what portion they may be entitled to in equitable distribution, really going into the nitty-gritty. I even will talk to them about, are they keeping the marital residence, or are they going to be moving? And if they're moving, where do they see themselves going? Are they staying in the area, or are they moving outside of the area that they've been living in? And what does that look like? What can they afford? What is their credit score? Do they need someone to co-sign with them? All of those things, as a financial advocate, from soup to nuts, beginning to end, A to Z, however you want to say it, whatever is involved as far as the finances are concerned, that's where I would step in. So as an advocate, I'm usually dealing with one person, not both people that are getting divorced.
Divorce always comes with a lot of emotion. And, you talk about the different genders. And as women, we tend to get a little bit more emotional. So when you have to work with these women, how do you get them to the starting point so they're open to learning everything for the first time?
Well, you know what? One of the things that I do is I talk to them about their particular situation and how they got to where they are. And I say to them, look, I've been doing this for over 30 years. Nothing you can tell me is going to surprise me. I've even gone through it myself, so I know what's happening here, and I know what's going on, and I've heard it from my clients, and I've seen it for myself firsthand. So let's just really talk about what's stopping you from being able to focus on the facts of the matter at hand, because there's a lot of emotion going on. And I've heard it described as the psychology of stuff, because we own a lot of stuff in our lives, and we imbue it with a lot of emotion, but it's not necessarily reality of what the thing is. As I had said to you before in my first appearance on your program, especially when you're dealing with the marital residence, yeah, it's a house and it's a marketable asset, but it's your home. So let's get to the emotion of that. Let's talk about how hard it was to earn your retirement account. Okay, let's deal with those emotions head on. Sometimes I even recommend that they talk to a mental health professional, a divorce coach, or, a psychologist or social worker that is specifically trained to deal with issues of divorce, because they are very, very specific. It's a mourning process. You're going through a loss, whether you've asked for it or not, whether you're wanting to participate or not. It's still an emotional time, one of the most emotional times that you can go through, and it's very scary. So let's deal with that head on. Let's look at all of those things. I say to them, tell me what's going on. What's keeping you up at night? What are you afraid of? Let's talk about it. And before I can even deal with the money, we deal with the emotions about it. And once they've released it a little bit and kind of handed it over to another person to share with them, they're a lot more open to dealing with than the facts that go with it.
Another title someone might hear during a divorce is the benefits of working with a financial neutral. Walk me through this and explain what all this means.
Okay, so the third way that people can get divorced is through the collaborative dispute resolution process. As a certified divorce financial analyst, when I'm dealing with a collaborative divorce, I act as a financial neutral. And that's completely different than what I've just discussed in this particular way. I will work with the couple. I will sit down with them and say, okay, let's talk about the emotions here for both of you. Let's hear what the other person is experiencing. Let's get everything out on the table. How can I help the two of you deal with what is in front of you? What is standing in the way of the two of you coming to a decision? And I am completely neutral. I cannot have either member of the couple be a client before the process or after the process. I am simply there as a neutral third party to help them deal with the finances. And I work very closely with a team during that process. So there are two attorneys, there is one family specialist or mental health professional, and myself as the financial neutral. And all of us are on the same page. It's full disclosure, and it really helps the couple wade through all of the things that they have to deal with, but in a very open, honest, fully disclosed, neutral way. I'm not saying the wife should get this and the husband should get that because I'm siding with one versus the other. It's what makes sense for this couple and for this family. Because if you're married for a long period of time and you have kids, you have to realize that you're still going to be in that person's life for a very long time because you have children together. So it is a family. It's just not the typical family unit. It's now going to be the family as a divorced unit. And that's a very, very different way of looking at it than when you go through a litigation. You're at each other's throats, you're fighting, you're battling, you're arguing, not during the collaborative process. And that's why I act as a neutral, because I am taking the stance of what's good for both of you, not one versus the other.
You mentioned the collaborative process just a moment ago. I would love for you to talk about why this is beneficial for all the parties involved. I know you touched upon it, but I'd love for you to kind of explain it a little bit more, because it sounds like it's a win-win for everybody.
And that's exactly the way we phrase it. It is a win-win for everyone. As one of my attorney colleagues likes to say, when she is in a litigated divorce, she goes in as the attorney with her sword and her shield, and she stands in front of her client. The client never really gets to say anything. She is the client's voice. In a collaborative process, the attorneys are standing side to side and shoulder to shoulder with their clients. It is always the goal to make it less adversarial. Let's talk about this logically, calmly. Let's deal with what we have to deal with instead of battling. And when you are in a settlement-minded base of idea instead of a battle, which is a positional, a positional statement or idea, you're more likely to come to an agreement without trying to rip the other one's heart out. Now, why is that important? You know, I know, people who have been in litigated divorces know you get into the court system and it becomes like a hamster on a wheel, and you just keep going around and around and around because you're stuck in the system. When you're out of the litigated system, when you're in a collaborative environment or a mediated environment, you are in control. You're driving the bus. In a litigated situation, more often than not, somebody else is making a decision for you. So it gives the client power and control over their destiny. And that's what's the most important thing, because if you've entered into a negotiation where you're controlling the process or you're actively part of the process, you're buying into it from the beginning, and you're more likely than not satisfied with the outcome. When someone else is making a decision for you, you're not as satisfied with the outcome because you always have the what if. Well, what if I had done this, or what if I had asked for that, or what if I had decided this? So the collaborative environment saves time, saves money, and keeps the family whole as a new vision of a divorced couple, as a divorced family. So it's a kinder, gentler way of going through something that is massively chaotic and a source of stress for a lot of people.
If you had to give tips to somebody to kind of leave the anger at the door and take this road, because it sounds, again, like it would be great for everybody. And who wants to give the courts control when you can keep the power in your own hands? How do they do that?
Well, using a team approach, hiring a collaborative team really does work wonders. And even if you can't do that, or your spouse is not interested in that, surrounding yourself with a professional team, a mental health professional, a financial professional, and a settlement-minded attorney really does help you leave the bitterness and the anger at the door, because you have someone saying to you, is that really in your best interest? Let's think about this. Yeah, I know you're upset. I know you're angry. I know there's a lot of emotion. But is that really the best way to get what you want? And I hate to use this as an analogy, but it's kind of like when a kid is throwing a tantrum and you say to them, is this really how you're going to get what you want? It's really the same way when you're dealing sometimes with people in divorce. They just cannot see, because they are blinded with rage. They can't see what's in their own best interest, so they need to take it down a notch. And that's what a team will help you do.
Well, I think it's in everybody's best interest to get in touch with you. So, Donna, quickly, how does one find you? Do you have a phone number?
The easiest way, 516-218-6919.
Donna, thanks so much for joining with us. And everybody, get in touch with Donna. You won't be disappointed. Donna, see you next month.